Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today's project is going to be a single color ice dye in the shade Plum Blossom. So it looks like this shirt is not turned inside out. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. For spirals, you don't really need to turn them inside out because you're not really messing with the seams. So smooth out as many wrinkles as you can and decide where you want the center of your spiral to be. This one's going to be a center spiral. I give it a little pinch, and then I'm using a microwave splatter guard and a hemostat to create the spiral. So I click the hemostat down on the first click because it does not need to be overly tight, and make sure you don't press really hard into the table because you can poke right through your shirt. I give the hemostat 3 or 4 twists, and then with my opposite hand I create the spiral. And I go as far as I can using the microwave splatter guard until I can't go any farther. I unclick the hemostat, I hold down the center of the spiral with my opposite hand, and then I gently wiggle out the hemostat. It looks a little violent, but this is on fast forward. Then I like to secure my spirals by using rubber bands. I find rubber bands to be quick and easy, but you use whatever makes you happy. If you like to use kite string or sinew, go for it. These are my favorite rubber bands in the color purple, and they come in other colors like green and pink, black, I think, maybe white. I can't list all those down below, though I'm running out of room, but you will find the purple ones down there. And also I have another pack of my favorite rubber bands, which are a multi-pack, and they come in blue, green, yellow, and pink all in one pack. And these are the best rubber bands, you guys. I promise you. Everything that I have listed down below I use for creating tie-dye. So definitely check that out. And especially if you're new to tie-dyeing, it's a pretty complete list. Everything down there will get you started. I like to tighten up my spiral, and I also like to work on the pleats down around the end of the shirt. All those little loose tails that are sticking out, I like to tuck them in. So I go around and around the spiral. I'll pull on the tail, tuck it into the nearest rubber band, and then just keep spinning it around until when I pull on those tails, nothing really happens. Then you know it's tight enough. Now, this is a washable marker that I'm using to mark on my shirt. I make multiple spirals up at one time, and this helps me remember what my plan is for the shirt. Now, these are silicone cake molds, and they are amazing for ice dyeing. And you will find the link down below in the description box. If it's a little bit too big for your project, all you need to do is use a paper clip, and I got a box of 100 paper clips at the dollar store. I love them. Now, when it came to actually dyeing the project, I changed my mind. So again, I'm using a washable marker to mark out my pattern, and I'm going to be making a 3-line spiral for this one. So right here I have an old jar and a new jar of Plum Blossom. So the black jar is my original jar of Plum Blossom, and then the white jar is the brand new one, and they look completely different in the jar. I have asked Dharma about this, and they assure me that the color is the same. Now with ice dyeing, I don't know if it's going to be the same, but in liquid, supposedly it will be the same. Some people will say you should not mix your old dye into the new jar in case there's an issue. Well, to each their own, right? I just mixed the old dye into the new jar and stirred it up really well. So what I can tell you about the old jar, it was really like a baby powder consistency, and kind of dense it spread pretty well, but the new jar is more granular, and there's a lot of really tiny little blue specks in it. And if you look at your jar, I'm almost positive Plum Blossom has a T on it, and the T stands for turquoise. Anyways, I just found that interesting how completely different the dye powders looked. Okay, now I'm adding a very generous layer because it's been my experience with Plum Blossom, it's not a heavy saturator. And I have no intentions of flipping this shirt over, so I want to make sure there's enough dye on there to get good saturation. I give the project a quick little sprinkle of soda ash for good measure, just to help keep the pH up around 10.5 to 11. And now I'm adding my ice. And I'm going to be using my commercial ice, like the big machine that I have. And I like to add my ice to the white areas first. And my theory on this is if I can get those white areas covered up with the ice, then I'm not going to knock any of the dye powder into the white area where I don't want it. Try that out and see if it works for you. For the setup, I'm using one of those closet-made racks, and then I have one of those totes that's for under the bed, like for storing wrapping paper. And then the foil trays, I guess they're cookie sheets from the dollar store, and that's protecting the other two projects that I have going on. I don't want to cross-contaminate any of the dye. Now, when I'm done adding the ice to all of the projects, I remove the foil cookie sheets, and then I just set the project aside. And it's recommended that you let your project batch at 70 degrees or higher for at least 24 hours after the ice melts, and I let the project batch for the full 48 hours. And as you can see here, there's a lot of blue on the back, and I get asked quite a bit, where does the blue come from? Well, it comes from the T that's next to Plum Blossom, which stands for turquoise, and that's called a color split. So the magenta, purpley, pink color that you see on top is the Plum Blossom, and then as the ice melted, it turned into that beautiful blue turquoise color that's on the back. Gravity happened. That's what happened. For the rinse out process, I start by using cold water to rinse away any soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric. And I make sure to rinse the white areas out really well because I want them to stay white. And then I increase my water up to hot, and I rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. The hot water is going to remove any unbonded dye so it goes down the drain instead of into the washing machine. Once at the washing machine, I like to do hot water cycles using Kirillon, which is a professional textile detergent. And then I do a final hot water cycle using Milsoft, which is a professional fabric softener. Then I'll put it in the dryer and I'll iron it, and we'll come back and we'll see the results. Well, here it is, guys. Here's our single color ice dye in the shade Plum Blossom after it's been washed and dried. And this is a gorgeous spiral. The spiral looks really nice and uniform. The color looks pretty and the color splits are beautiful. You will find this tutorial in the playlist of Dharma's single color ice dye swatches. So this and all the other colors I've done already. It's a really useful tool when it comes to buying colors, especially if you're brand new to tie-dyeing and don't even know where to begin. It's a work in progress. So Plum Blossom is not a heavy saturator. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that once already. So that's why I added so much dye to the project. Now you could play around with yours. You could flip it over and do all kinds of things, but for what I'm trying to do here, which is swatch out the color, I didn't want to manipulate it too much. I want to see what will the color do if it's just left alone. And as you can see, the top of the pleats have the like the darker Plum Blossom color. It's like really pretty. You know, the pictures never do it justice. It's like a magenta purple color. And then when the ice melts, it sort of dilutes it down into like a really pretty soft pink color. And then the color splits on this are just a really pretty turquoise baby blue. So this is what you can expect if you use Plum Blossom all by itself. Now, right here is a liquid swatch, and it doesn't look anything like the ice dye, right? I mean, the Plum Blossom in the liquid form is a really pretty lavender color, like a lavender pink. And in an ice dye, two totally different colors emerge, a magenta and a baby blue. So I really love this color. I don't use it a whole heck of a lot because I forget about it, but it really is pretty, especially for springtime projects. So what do you guys think of Plum Blossom? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing!